Get ready to ignite your passion and elevate your spirit because we're launching the second season of HTM on the Line podcast. We're honored to welcome the inspiring Dr. Jeff Smoot, a luminary in healthcare technology management. Discover how his childhood curiosity in bioengineering evolved into groundbreaking contributions in cardiac IT. At MiraCosta College, he's not just teaching, but transforming lives, blending technical skills with real-world scenarios. As we explore Dr. Smoot's unparalleled success in guiding students to a 100% graduation rate, we uncover the essence of adaptability, continuous learning, and the impact of hands-on experience in the ever-evolving field of HTM. Tune in now for a whirlwind of inspiration and innovation in healthcare technology management. Jeff, welcome to HTM on the Line. How you doing today, sir?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's been a long time since we got on here, man. It was 2022 last time we talked.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I thought it seemed like for some time flies, you know? I thought it was sooner than that, but you said 2022, I'm like, wow.
Before we get deep into the questions, how about you share with us your journey into the healthcare technology management industry and what inspired you to enter this field?
Wow. Okay, so you're talking about going back. Okay, so back when I was younger, for those that can remember, I'm dating myself, there was this program called the $6 Million Man. And I wanted to originally get into bioengineering to, artificial limbs and internal organs and different things like that. So I was always kind of interested in it. However, I didn't know this field existed. And what happened was that by chance, I wound up going to school for bioengineering, found out I really didn't like it. And those doctors that basically do the artificial limbs and things are like researchers, PhDs, MDs, and different things. And they came out with this thing called a Jarvik 7, which was like the first one, in Utah. And so that's where I kind of like sparked the interest. But as time went on, I basically got into the Navy Reserves, and they had a program called RAMP, which they basically would just send you to regular civilian school and to basically get a associate's degree. And I picked biomedical engineering, which is what biomedical technology, because that's what I wanted to do. So I got into it, and it was about 1988, actually, So I was a reservist and got my training kind of like civilian, but I was still serving time in the Navy and had that designation. And so from there, I just started just to kind of like grow. And that was in Chicago. That's where I'm originally from. And later on, I moved down into Atlanta, Georgia, right before the Olympics, and started working for a healthcare system down there. And I was decided to go back to school for my bachelor's degree, and I was in IT, and what happened was that basically they were starting a new cardiac program, cardiac IT, a PACS. And so by chance, I was kind of like thrown into that, or thrusted into that, not thrown into it, but thrusted into it. And there was a blessing in disguise because that's where I really got my PACS and IT and started to kind of go into different avenues of biomed and different things, and still associated with biomed, of course, but I was just doing some more things like with cardiology and specializing in that. And then, fast forward kind of, school went on, and in 2018, I had the opportunity basically to start a program at MiraCosta College in Carlsbad, California. And they were looking for an instructor, I heard, and I got, having to just interview, and they said, we want you. And now you just have to create the program because we don't have anything. So, and that's what fast forward to where I'm at now. 2018 was when it started. And so I've been there ever since, took a break for a little bit, but I came back, and so I enjoy it.
MiraCosta, that's where you say you're teaching biomed program. Is it a associate program, certificate? What type of program are you teaching?
Well, it's a certificate program, and this is one of the only programs I know of. There might be more now, but it is basically funded by the Department of Labor. President Obama created the America's Promise funding, which was to get Americans back working and different things. And so that's where pretty much the funding came from. And the person who kind of like ran it, Linda Kurokawa, which I'm giving her props, she was basically the one that started the program with the advice of Tony Lively and Mimi Lively. And some of you all know them. And they basically mentioned the biomedical program, and she was like, really? So she looked into it, and that's kind of like how the program started. So it's a 16-week program. I'm the only instructor, and I basically take them through from electronics, anatomy, and physiology to medical equipment, to going to Einthoven's triangle. I go into biopotentials, all different types of things, and basically to get them trained as BMET ones. So it's about 440 hours total, which is equivalent to like an associate degree in hours, but all they're getting during this 440 hours is strictly biomed. So, that's kind of like how the program works.
Man, it's like you're inside my head. You answered my next 3 questions without me even asking them.
Sorry.
Fine, that's fine. How would you describe your demographic makeup of your program in terms of your students' age, gender, and I guess diversity among the students? What is that like?
So I would guess probably the average age is probably about 30, I would say. So you have some that are older, some that are younger, majority, of course, male, but women are starting to get more into it, which is great. The range as far as education level ranges from, a stay-at-home mom who's been there for 20 years who wanted to get into biomed to a ex-orthopedic surgeon. A couple of cohorts I had to go. So the ex-orthopedic surgeon was in the program, and she got out of it years ago because of it wasn't like what she really liked, and she sat in my class and went through the program, which was interesting because it was got a pressure decision that's where I really knew how much on point I was in different things in medical because she's ex-orthopedic surgeon, so it was pretty good. It was gratifying to see that, So it makes, it varies, but I would say the majority of, I've personally trained there's been about 100, let's say 170 this total went through the program. I've trained about 106 of them through MiraCosta program. So very fortunate to change people's lives. And it's just all different types of makeup. I mean, it's amazing, really, what this attracts. I had a gentleman that came from Philadelphia this past cohort. So he basically, saw the program online. He was in automotive, but couldn't do that anymore. And he packed up everything and was in Airbnb and hotels for 16 weeks, And now he's in Cincinnati. He's working as a biomed. So just talked to him earlier, actually. So yep. Wow. So that's kind of like the makeup.
Wow, that's great, man. Now, just for our listeners, just in case, explain, you said cohort. What does that mean when you say cohort? I know what it means, but I want you to explain it to our listeners. When you say cohort, referring to your class?
Yes. The cohort is basically the class. I'm in cohort 12, starting January 22nd. So, class 12, class 11, class 10. So we just use cohort instead of just class,
Okay.
So it's the 12th class of biomedical technicians.
Wow. So you say you've graduated 106. So what would you say your graduation rate is for your program? Percentage?
Oh, my graduation rate's 100%.
Really? Everybody that started always finish?
Yes, they always finish. I haven't had any to drop, any to quit.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And this is good. I try to give them life lessons as well as biomed. So, they have an experience, but they have things that they could take with them and apply, just applicable to life, So that's what I try to do. Try to make it interesting.
Okay, so we're on cohort 12, you said, I think, or?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Now, what would that first day of class be like for your cohort 12 coming into the classroom? How would you greet the kids? Well, students, because they're probably not kids.
Yeah. So the first part of they intro themselves. How did they get in the program? How did they hear about the program? Who told them about it or how they found out? Once we get through with that part right there, then I give them the final test.
On the first day?
On the first day. I give them the final test, and of course they don't know it, but I want them to realize that they don't know. That way it kind of drops the guards down sometimes, or a lot of times it does. Because, they can always look at remember that test that they got, I give them probably 3 points for their name and probably 3 points for the date. So,
now, you have your kids there. I think you said, it's a 6-month program?
No, 16 week, 4 months.
Okay, 4-month program. So now in those 4 months, do your students have any hands-on training with like maybe some medical equipment in your class, or what's in your classroom?
Okay, so in my classroom, I have monitors, test electrical safety analyzers. I have defib analyzer, EKGs, simulation, patient simulators. So I have test equipment that's in there. I've been fortunate with that. And I also have different equipment that's been donated and bought, patient monitor, 3 defibrillators, small Surgistat ESU piece of equipment. So I have kind of like a good variety of it, a good variety of EKG machines, also Mac 5500s, light sources, Alaris pumps. I have a little range of things they can basically learn on. Wow. And so when I basically get them in, I try to, because we have in this program, let me back up a little bit. This program basically has an internship. It's in collaboration with some of the hospitals, UCSD, Scripps, where the students could go in and do 120 hours of internship, under another biomed. Of course, the hospitals accepted, program's pretty well established. And so they pick their days kind of like when they could go in, because the program is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So Thursday and Friday, they can go to one of the hospitals and do an internship for 120 hours. So it's imperative for me, because what I wanted to do was, in the beginning, I used to put the internship at the back end of the program when they're almost finished and they do an internship. But that didn't give them the opportunity to come back and ask questions or talk about different things they experienced. So I now, within the first probably 6 weeks, 5 weeks, they're going to be doing it. They're going to start the internship. Okay. So it's imperative that at the very beginning, and this is basically to kind of like capture their interest, because I've given them their final test the first day. Then probably within that week, I'll have them doing something like teach them how to wire a plug, electrical safety, how to wire a plug. So they'll have plugs that they can wire and learn how to do that. And this is something that I'll emphasize as time goes on. Instead of just doing it one time, they're doing it all during the cohort. And so they're able to get exposed really to like the first week of class. They actually are doing something pertaining to biomed.
What are the key skills first that you really maybe teach them, that you really focus on, if you can name a few of them?
Okay, so if I'm talking about soft skills, communications, how to talk. You have to have an even temper. You got to really, biomed depends on where you're at. It could be stressful. Well, probably anywhere you're at in biomed, it has its moments. Okay, so I try to teach them and emphasize about having an even temper. Don't panic. It's going to, when we go to these site visits, which we do, there's a lot of equipment in the shop. You don't have to know everything the first day, okay? Because sometimes they get in there and they're kind of overwhelmed. So I kind of teach them, it's all in time. Take your time, learn it. But as far as the actual skills in biomed, I emphasize that they'll know test equipment, because monitors can change everything, but you'll know how to do electrical safety. You know how to hook up a patient simulator, and so that's one of the things I really, because it's training for entry level BMed ones. And so I'm not getting into anesthesia. I'm not getting into ventilators, because entry level, they're probably more than likely not going to be touching that for a few years. So my key emphasis is you'll know test equipment. If you don't know anything else, you're going to know test equipment. And so that's what I emphasize all during the program, pretty much that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you've been doing this will be like your 12th class that you're doing, or is the 12th class in the
Yeah.
program period? Or is
12 class in the program. I personally did, this would be my eighth
okay.
class I personally taught, but it's been 12 total.
The HTM industry is evolving and changes every day. How in particular would you say that your program probably have evolved from the first cohort you had to the eighth cohort? What would you say maybe have been some adjustments you've made in how you instructed your class?
Okay, well, one of the first adjustments I made was when I first started in cohort one. I'm old school, so I'm used to look up something, get your laptops out, and let's look up something. Whether it's a test procedure, service manual, whatever. And they popped out their cell phones, and I was like, well, put your cell phones up. We're not going to be doing it. There's nothing with the cell phones. They said, well, Dr. Smoot, this is how we look up things on the cell phone. So I had to have a paradigm shift in my teaching because I'm used to, get on a laptop, get on the computer, and they like, no, we can see everything on that small writing. And so that's one of the shifts I had to do. Another shift is that as time goes on, because I do outside of teaching, I do a lot of research and reading, and I'm in VR and augmented reality and artificial intelligence. Then I have to kind of like now start adapting the program to where it's addressing those type of things, okay? Because that's what they're going to be exposed to. I really get into IT. I teach them IT and the basics, how to ping, command prompt, how to basically kind of troubleshoot, see if something's on the network, different things like that. So they will at least know how to speak the language, So when they need to put a EKG machine on the network, they're not saying to IT, give me those number things. They know what that means. They know it's called an IP address, So I try to give them the knowledge to where they can at least speak the language to be successful in the biomed career. So That's what I do. So I had to change, and it's constantly evolving, It's constantly evolving with different things. It's different things I read about and integrations and all types. So I'm always trying to evolve and get them involved in things that's going to be in the future too, So I've introduced in VR headsets. So now they do a module in VR headsets, and so it's been an ongoing thing. And so it gets to a point sometime where the 16 weeks is packed, with stuff. And so they get a chance to experience some things.
Explain what you mean by they get exposed to VR headsets. But y'all watch videos, or how do you expose them to the VR headsets?
Well, I've been fortunate to do some storyboarding and some creation of some of the some of the modules for Invert Lab. And so that's where the VR headsets come from. Inside of those, there's different modules for doing the PM on the defib, EKG machine, suction regulator, different things to where the students could put on the headsets and be immersed in that world. And it takes them through how to do a MedRat injector. What do you take loose? And you have two hand pieces, and you're actually immersed in it just like you're in the room. And you're actually taking apart, unscrewing different things. And so this way, they're getting exposed to that. And now they can physically go and they can do something like that, because they've kind of like got the PM down for doing it. So, of course, it's never a first time, but this is really something for them to be able to expose and to kind of see, how it defib, how do you do a PM on a defib? Even though we physically do it, but they're able to see it in the virtual world, which is really helpful.
As your kids get close to finishing the program, what type of advice do you give to your students that can prepare them for a career in HTM? I know you mentioned some soft skills. What advice do you give to your students to prepare them?
One of the main things is that you don't know everything. You're coming in, there are people that know what you're trying to learn, and so take your time. Don't panic. This is it can be overwhelming because of all of the equipment that they feel like they have to learn. But somebody that's really seasoned, like ourselves, me and you, we've been in it for a while. So it's over a period of time, you learn it. So I teach them about, just, take your time and learn, and, try to have a even attitude. I wouldn't say anger level, which you're not going to have, but try to really be calm on the job, because you're going to deal with doctors, you're going to deal with nurses, you're going to deal with, people that some feel like they're God, and they're going to talk to you anyway, but you got to have an even keel, and that's the main thing. That's the main thing I emphasize to them. I call it relaxed intensity, and that's one thing they need to develop, is a relaxed intensity about what they do, because you can get called up in the surgery, and you go there and they're in the middle of a case and the monitor's out, You got to be able to deal with that, because they expect you to understand, they expect you to get it fixed. And so I try to really tell them to have an even temperament about everything they do, And
I guess it has to be challenging in a way, because you have the years of experience. So I guess you may have to almost pull yourself back, because you might want to just keep going on, and then you find yourself maybe going over their head. So I guess that takes discipline on your part when you're teaching them to keep it at an even keel so they can digest it.
I'm getting people that have never touched a screwdriver. And in 16 weeks, I got to get them to biomed, entry level 1. And I mean, some of them never know what a circuit is. They don't even know what I'm talking about, So I have to kind of tailor make my teaching to where everybody gets it, and nobody's bored. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Wow, that could be real challenging if you have an orthopedic surgeon, then you have someone who never touched it. And I'm more than sure a lot of your students probably going through career changes. So some may have a lot of experience in the working industry, but some may have zero. So I can see where that might be a challenge, because they probably have different levels of experience in life and as far as technology or technical. So that could be a challenge, I can see. But
so I have to really, it's kind of like, you got got people that did electronics, that got companies maybe, and they're going for another career change. And, but where I really get them at is basically when I really start talking about biomedical equipment, because that's one thing I know they don't know. I know they don't know that. So, no matter where they are, orthopedic surgeon, they know medical equipment, but they don't really know it like we know it, So I really, that's where kind of like you kind of rubber hits the road, and they have to kind of submit to what I'm teaching them, because they don't know,
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but it's fun. I welcome the challenge all the time. So
yes, that's great. Now, you mentioned earlier about your site visits. Could you speak more on what type of site visits you were speaking of that you do with your kids, the students, rather?
Okay, so what we basically do is we got a couple of hospitals, UCSD in San Diego. We got Scripps, Kaiser, and they're gracious has given us site visits, and we all the students we meet there, and they basically show us biomed. So in essence, if there's like, say for instance, 10 technicians in the shop, then usually they break up in groups and they just go and spend 5 minutes with each section, each area, and the technicians talk about their day to day, and they can ask them questions and all types of stuff. The site visits basically for the purpose for me personally is, first of all, they get a chance to see what biomed really is in action. Okay. The real situation. Secondly, they get to ask questions, and they see different things, and because everybody's got different questions. And then lastly, they start seeing equipment that we got in the room, which solidifies what I've been teaching them, And we all, biomeds always kind of think alike, in the whole industry. And so they start mentioning, the different technicians mention certain things that I've said. And all they do is look back at me like, yeah, he's right. There's one thing when I'm saying it, but when somebody else is saying it, and I didn't like cue them or tell them, hey, say this here, and they just see it on their own, they're really like, wow. And Dr. Smoot, yeah, that's correct what he said. This person just said the same thing, So it's really gratifying. And I try to, my goal is to have site visits at hospitals and manufacturers and maybe some, third-party service, so they can see that there's, biomed is just not in the hospital. But you can do field service, you can do bench repair someplace, in a manufacturer, you can do different things. So I try to really expose them to all that, because some people are not cut out for the hospital. hospital is not for everybody. And if some people want to deal with all that, so they can still kind of like have the same appreciation for the field, but not have to deal with some of the things that the hospital will present to them. So, and occasionally, which has only been two classes, last class and the second class, we had the opportunity to tour the U.S. Navy hospital ship Mercy, which is here in San Diego. And so that's really something. When they see that, they're really amazed, So it's been great.
Man, your program is pretty in depth. You pack a lot into these few weeks, I would say, compared to a regular biomed program. And let's say this, when it comes to your students, I keep calling them kids, man, what type of regulatory or ethics compliance do you share with them? Because that's going to be important for them also.
Yeah, we talk about NFPA 99, we talk about HIPAA. We touch on those, especially NFPA 99, to my electrical safety and different things like that. Because I try to always emphasize the origin of different things, and that's where, because if you kind of understand how things are working, then you can see the importance of different regulations and different things, So I talk about electrical safety and how that's very important, and, why, how it started, when good old Ralph Nader and that type of thing presented and he didn't start, but he basically made the awareness there. And so, I try to really emphasize the different HIPAA. You got to really watch HIPAA. You got to watch your in hospitals, you're going to see things that, that people don't see, and it's important that you're ethical, that you're, just like I mentioned earlier, even keel, even temperament, and you understand that what you see there, you don't go out and talk about it, and so, because that could be a major violation, especially HIPAA, and it could cost you in the long run. So I try to really get into it as far as the regulations, talk about some ISO, talk about OSHA and inspections, different things. The fortunate thing about the program is they do get an OSHA 10 certification. So that's included in the program. So OSHA comes in, and for 2 days, they get them certified in that. And they get a lean certification. So when they come out, they have a couple of little certifications, along with the certificate of biomed. So I try to definitely emphasize some of the regulations and different things.
We're getting close to the end of the program, and your kids are graduating. Do y'all have like a graduation program for them?
Yeah, we have graduation. When they get close to graduation, of course, they're excited. They don't know what to expect, and I show up in my cap and gown so they can see it. And so that is one thing, is one of the best parts of the program to me, is the graduation. And I said I was going to do this, and I should have done this from the very beginning. This cohort, I'm going to take a picture of them the first day, then I'm going to take a picture of them the last day.
That's pretty cool.
See how much difference they've made, that type of thing. So
that's awesome.
That's what I'm going to do.
And do you take pictures when you go to your site visits and stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I sure do.
That's great, man. You could do like a little slideshow graduation video, man.
Yeah, that's what I need to. Yeah, I need
maybe
to.
I can help. Maybe I can help you with that, man. That'd be.
Yeah, definitely. That would be great.
That'd be a pretty cool at the end, from day one and throughout the program and things like that. And you do some video. That'd be a great little thing at the end of the year we could put together for them. I think that'll be pretty great.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta keep one on you, man. That way you always be indebted to me, Now, let me ask you this. When it comes, I know you're very active in CMIA. Do you expose your cohorts to the association program? Well, meetings rather? Yeah,
absolutely. I try to, and it's great whenever there's like, CMIA, of course, is during the time. And that's one of the things I kind of like emphasize to them, that they need to come to a meeting. I'm the vice president of the chapter in San Diego. So I say, because I'm there, and you're my students, you all need to show up to a meeting, So that's one thing. But a couple of times I've been fortunate to where the MD Expo has been in Pachanga here in Temecula. And they went there, and that really locks them in. The big CMIA that we're having, actually the 18th in Anaheim, I've invited my students to come there, even though class starts that following Monday. But whenever they see certain things like this, they realize the industry is much bigger than what they even expected. They had no idea how big it was, but when they start seeing people, their future colleagues and different things, they're like, wow, man, this is a real industry here. Then they start wondering, how come I haven't heard about this? Just like everybody does,
Yeah, sure.
Well, how come I haven't heard about this? This is amazing, And so that really locks them in when they come to some of those events. So I try to expose them as much as possible. If there's anything in the area, I try my best to get them to come and different things like that, and that introducing people. And they come to the meetings, they get a chance to meet local biomeds, in the San Diego area. And they really, and I can't say enough about the biomed HCM industry, from you to, the president, Amy, and Danielle, because the support. Program couldn't exist without all the support from all the people. It would be very hard. So I appreciate that. Support is everything, really.
Man, they don't realize how privileged or blessed they are to be able to go to an association. I have my technicians that work with me never been to one. I mean, we don't even have an association in Louisiana. So just the fact that they can be exposed to that before they even get into the industry is awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's commendable that you exposing them to that. That's also probably a great teaching lesson when you get back to class.
So as time goes on in the program, of course, they become more and more interested, and they start, in the beginning, they don't know whether they can do it. I don't know if I could do this here. It looks kind of, but then they actually start saying, man, they actually start believing that they could do it, And I've been fortunate enough to where they've gotten jobs before the program was even ended. A month before they had a job, So that's been great, and but just expose them to it, it really makes a difference, And that's why I say about any program out there, if you can get the students to go into a hospital just to see, how it runs, what's going, it really makes a big difference it makes an impact on the students.
You say your graduation rate is 100%. What is your job placement percentage for your graduates?
It's in San Diego. They don't want to leave San Diego. They want a job here, and I always emphasize, you got to start broadening your horizons to really get employment. The ones that have reached out and have done that, it's really 100%, because they get a job with no problem. But the ones that want to stay in San Diego and wait for something to happen, they might be waiting, because there's only so many hospitals in San Diego, so many biomeds, and so many biomed slots. So I'm now emphasizing, I have been emphasizing, but more than ever, because the opportunity is much greater, is to, hey, broaden your horizon. Don't be, go get the experience, go someplace, even if you go to LA, which is 100 miles, you're getting the experience of something. But just hoping you get a job right down the street from your house is, it can happen, but, a lot of people want that, so people that want to work, I say it's easier. It's 100%. They get the job. They say, look, I'm going to get something. They go. And I have people all over the country that have done that, but the ones that want to sit at home and want to wait for something, I say they don't work, so until something pops up, so that type of thing. But I always emphasize, see, this is a 12th class. So you got 11 classes that are looking for a job right in San Diego, probably just like you, and so you have to broaden your horizons, especially now. It's opportunities wide open in the HCM industry. It's wide open.
I want to ask you some personal questions while I have you here, Smoot. I know you're involved with your association of CMIA, but do you do any work with other associations around the country? Do you have any involvement with them?
Well, yeah, occasionally I get invited to come speak there, speak at a couple of places. And it's been this past year, I was in Omaha, Nebraska, spoke there at the Heartland. It was great. I have something coming up in a couple of weeks in Ohio. So occasionally I get invited to come speak at different places. I've been on the board of the Georgia Biomedical Society, Instrumentation Society, or GBIS, for a couple of years. And then I kind of resigned from that because I'm here pretty much a lot more than ever in Georgia. So I get involved with other associations. Anybody who needs help or wants to help or wants me to do anything, I'm always glad to help out. That's not a problem. The industry is wide open. And so they need any type of encouragement, help, advice, whatever. I'm there for them. So
Right. That's commendable. Oh, I appreciate your time, Dr. Smoot. It's always a pleasure talking with you and spending time with you. I look forward to spending time with you next week at CMIA. Hopefully yes. You'll bless me with some time. You're a popular guy.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
But in conclusion, I would like for you to share some advice, knowledge for not only the new ones in the industry, but let's take since you deal with both sides, give some advice for someone that's new coming into the industry first, and then give some advice to someone that's been in the industry. What advice would you give them?
Well, I would say, HTM is a very rewarding field, and it's what you make it. You come in and sometimes things are repetitious, but there's so many avenues that are being created daily to where opportunities are going to exist and going to grow and going to be presented, And the thing is, you got to keep educating yourself, keep striving, keep being prepared, because when the opportunity comes, it's not a matter of, if it's going to come, it's when it's going to come. And you have to be prepared. And so I always say, keep educating yourself, keep, get in and try and gravitate towards something you really enjoy, because that will present an opportunity for you that you'll say, how did I get in this? And it's just, you were ready for it. It presented itself. So you just got to keep educating yourself and just keep learning. I mean, it never ends as far as learning. So keep going.
Great advice. Now, for the seasoned biomed or HTM professional, what advice could you give to them?
Well, I kind of like say on the back end of that, the seasoned biomed, don't become bored, because there's a lot of different opportunities out here, because you have experience, because you have the temperament to work in the hospital or work in the field or been in the field, whether it's field service, whether it's bench, whether it's in a hospital or manufacturer. You are somebody you're in an industry that is going to always need you, okay, and your expertise. And so don't be bored, and there's nothing here. Because when I first got in the industry, I didn't intend on on it to retire. I just want to do something. If I ever got to work for somebody, I don't have to, dig ditches, and nothing wrong with that. That's what you want to do. That wasn't me. And so 100, turning the full circle, I'm back in it. I'm still in it. I love it more now than ever before, because I only saw at the beginning me doing PMs, safety checks, incomings, learn something, work in a hospital. But there's so many other avenues that are being created. And when you get in there, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen everything, but there's so much out there. You just got to just keep on learning, keep on learning, because there's a lot of opportunity. Because you do have the experience, a lot more doors open up for you. So
great advice. Now, this question just popped in my head while you were talking. Can you share maybe one or two success stories from your cohorts that's been through the program and out there? You mentioned that some already have jobs and are working. Could you share one success story, or one that's made you so proud about one of your graduates?
Let's see here. Wow. Well, I'm not going to mention names because I got a bunch of them. Okay. But I have there's one person, one young lady that came out of my first cohort, and she basically just took an opportunity, kind of like in Northern California, became good. She's at Stanford now. Well, I guess I gave it away because I said Stanford. But she's at Stanford now, doing well.
Said she also, but go ahead.
Yeah, I said she also, so I can't do it. But if I would say at Stanford, it's only a few from the program. But that's one that really, she's certified now, so it's already out. But she is doing well in the industry. And that's just one of, I just said that off the top, but I have so many GE and University of New Mexico and Albuquerque and Siemens, and I got them all over. So there's not really, that's just one that popped in my head on the top, but all of them are successful. Yeah. I'm proud of all students, Hey,
well, let me give you I'll share one I just saw recently on LinkedIn. and he was mentioning how when he got to this account, they had a number of broken beds, and he made a goal to, you know where I'm going with this. You want to continue it? You want to finish it? You know?
Oh yeah. But this guy came out of I can't remember, cohort 9 or something like that, and he it's funny because how he got the job, he basically was like in class. Somebody called him, and he stepped out of the class and talked, and he came back. I said, "So how did it go?" He said, "I think I got a job." I was like, "What do you mean?" The person talked to me, and they said, "Okay, everything's good. You got good experience, and I'm going to have the person to call you and give you a job offer." I said, "Yeah, well, you probably got the job, And so he went in and started working, doing these beds, and just learning, just a sponge. And just like that story said on LinkedIn, he had his goal when he got in was to zero out the beds. And it took him, he's been out about a year and a half, I think. Close to, I think maybe 2 years. And he accomplished that goal, And he was so proud. But that was one that sat there and like, man, I don't know if I could do this, and he did it. He's knocking out the field. He's killing it.
Yeah.
So
and that's a true testament to your program, because a lot of people hate working on hospital beds. And for him to have that positive attitude to go in there and put a goal before him and accomplish the goal, I was excited for him, honestly. So I know you probably was bubbling over with joy.
There's another guy, just kind of like to add to that, who was in the grocery industry for over 30 years. And he got through the program, started working on beds, and he's like, the bed technician, he's happy to be in the field. Look, I'm as happy to be in this, so it beats groceries. I've been in 30 years. He said, man, I love it. He said, I love it. And I see him every time we do a site visit, because he works in one of the hospitals. But it is really, it's really gratifying to see that.
Yeah, because I don't understand the hate for hospital beds. I mean, that's one of the most important pieces of medical equipment in the hospital.
that is regardless of what you say, IV pumps.
Exactly.
IV pumps. I mean, it's like they gotta have they gotta have beds. If you got a hospital, how you gonna not have beds? What are they gonna do? Stand? You gotta have beds.
Well, I appreciate you, Dr. Smoot, man. Anytime you want to come back on, feel free. The door is always open to you. And maybe we can brainstorm and maybe we can figure out some kind of way, get one of your kids or a couple of your kids on one time for an episode. I think that'll be pretty good. Maybe midway through the program and see how they're doing. And we can.
That's good. Yeah, that'd be real good. Get some of the past and the present, man.
That sounds good, man. You can have like a little mini class reunion or something like that. Cohort reunion. But all right. Well, thank you once again. I appreciate you, man. And until we meet again, take care of yourself, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. And you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job. I listen to your cast all the time, HCM on the line, and I always open them up in the morning. I always play some of your HCM on the line, little 2-minute snippets are fantastic. And man, you're doing a great job. You keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that, brother.
We appreciate you out here, man. So,
all right, man. Take care. Appreciate you.
You do. Take it easy. Thank you.